one decision at a time.
You ready for this? The New York Times, Bloomberg Business Week, The Atlantic Times, Huffington Post, U.S. News and World Report, Forbes, Fox Business, BBC, NPR, NBC, ABC, and CBS Television. I'm exhausted just saying it.
Now we're going to talk about this three-part decision framework that I've been telling you about. And the first part of the framework is to do what I call check your pulse. Check your decision pulse. At the beginning of every decision process, you check your pulse. I want to do a demonstration here to illustrate what I mean by your pulse, your decision pulse. So I'd like everybody to stand up. And I'm going to make a few statements. Every time you agree with the statement that I make, I want you to turn and face me wherever I am in the room when I make the statement. I could really help contribute to the growth and success of CDM Smith if I focused on recruiting top talent. If I focused on increasing my team's process efficiencies, if I reduced my team's costs this year, if I thought more innovatively this year. I could really help contribute to the growth and success of CDM Smith if I thought about new ways to service our clients, if I thought about different ways to improve the quality of the existing services that we offer to our clients. I could really help improve and grow this business this year if I focused on increasing my team's productivity. Okay, now, which direction did you move in? A circle. Thank you for being good sports. You can all sit down now. Now, what do you think the point of this little exercise is? Well, you can make a sound, rational business case for pursuing any one of these directions this year. The trouble with having 8 primary directions is that it's approximately 7 too many if you actually want to get somewhere, isn't it? One of the quickest and easiest ways to accelerate the growth of your team, your career, your business as a whole is by deciding of all the things I could focus on, what is going to be the number one thing, the primary focal point that I'm going to ask my team to focus their decisions on in the coming year, coming 2 years, the coming 6 months. And I call that number one thing your decision pulse. Your decision pulse. Go ahead and put your finger on your pulse right now. You see if you can find your pulse. We're in big trouble if nobody can find their pulse. See, you can actually feel the lifeblood of your body coursing through your veins right now. Okay? Of all the important things happening in your body, this is the thing that's supplying the oxygen and the fuel to everything else. It's making it possible. And the same is true with your decision pulse. Of all the things you could possibly focus on this year, think about what should be the number one thing. Now, you can have other things, but what's going to be at the top? Maybe just for the next 3 months, the next 6 months. Of all your priorities, what is going to be that thing that's going to truly allow your team to unlock their growth potential, to really get them excited and build some momentum in the direction of your new strategy? And the second step in the decision process, after you've checked your pulse, is to phone a friend. Phone a friend. I want to give you a personal illustration to describe what I mean here. So, a while back, my wife and I moved from San Diego to Minneapolis. And in the span of about 3 months, we moved across country. We bought our first home. Our first child was born, a beautiful baby boy named Reuben, who slept an average of 27 minutes a night the first 6 months he was alive. And true to form, right smack dab in the middle of this onslaught of change, I had my falling apple moment. And I hatched the idea that eventually became my first book deal with a major publisher. So all of these were brilliant life experiences. I loved the big C changes that were happening. But the little c, daily inconveniences and interruptions, like the internet's not working, the baby won't stop crying. Now, thanks to the book deal, thanks to this coming to fruition of a lifelong dream, I now have 2 sets of bosses, one in California and one in New York that I have to report to.
Well, the little sea changes were stressing me the freak out. So I did what all good, red-blooded American consumers know is the best way to cure stress. I went shopping. Only, I didn't just buy a new pair of shoes or a new baseball cap or something like that. No, ladies and gentlemen. I went big. I bought this. Now, yeah. That there is an RV, my RV to be specific. And this was a colossally bad decision on a number of levels. Not the least of which because we moved into the city of Minneapolis where there's no place to park a 31.5-foot monstrosity, or because I had personally never driven a motorhome before in my entire life. But the biggest reason why this was a bad decision is because it moved me in the exact opposite direction of my personal decision pulse. See, just like every team and every business has a decision pulse, so do we as individuals. The screwy thing is, I knew, even back then, I knew exactly what my decision pulse was. It was freedom. I cared more about freedom than power, prestige, safety, achievement, security, relationships. I wanted freedom more than anything else. But in my stressed out, judgment-clouded state of mind, all I could think about is, what would spell freedom more than cruising down the old American highway with everything I own behind me on 2 axles? Of course, if you ever owned an RV or a boat or something like that, you probably know that in reality, all it created was obligation after obligation after obligation. So, after I sold the RV, I had people coming out of the woodwork. My friends, my family, my brothers, my sister, my wife, all saying, yeah, I couldn't believe it when you bought that thing to begin with. What were you thinking? And I was like, well, Helpy Helperton, here's a question for you. Where was that great advice before I bought the freaking RV? You know why I didn't get that advice? Any guesses? Because I didn't ask for it. In the last 4 decades, behavioral economists have uncovered hundreds of predictable biases, irrational quirks of the human mind that cause otherwise intelligent people to betray their own best interest. But at the same time, psychologists have also uncovered 5 to 6 proven, empirically validated ways of shifting our thinking from System 1, irrational, impulsive, emotional thinking, to System 2, rational, calculating, logical thinking. And they're very simple techniques like consider the opposite. Take an outsider's perspective. Pretend that a friend came to you with this decision. What advice would you give back to them? And I've just thrown them all into one catch-all phrase that I simply call phone a friend. And all that means is after you've checked your pulse, but before you make the final decision, check in with somebody who's not you. It doesn't even have to be somebody smarter than you, because if you're like me, it's often very hard to find somebody smarter than you. It just has to be somebody who's not bringing your emotions, your biases, your prejudices into the situation. Somebody who can give you that fresh outside perspective. Now, the question remains, after you've checked your pulse, after you've phoned a friend, what do you do when you're still not sure what to do? Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is what brings us to the third and final part of the decision framework, which is to rent the RV. Rent the RV, as in rent it before you decide to buy it. Renting the RV is all about starting small before betting big. It's about testing your gut rather than blindly trusting your gut. And it's also how you, each and every one of you, can continue being the diligent and responsible steward of the customers, the team members, and resources with which you've been entrusted, while also being the bold and creative leader that your community, your business, your family, and quite honestly, our world needs you to be at this moment in history. Because that's what we're here to talk about today, right? One team, one future. 10, 20, 30 years from now, the leaders who are going to carry on your legacy are going to be able to look back and say, all the success that we enjoy right now, all the positive impact that we are able to have on our customers, on our communities, began on the edge of chaos when this group of change agents boldly and courageously decided to step up and fully embrace this once-in-a-career opportunity for true transformation.